Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 53 in the book of Revelation. Today's title is The Good Grape, which refers to Jesus. So I'm inventing a new name for Jesus. Please, Lord, have mercy. And here's the new name for Jesus, the Good Grape. So yesterday we talked about the grapes of wrath, which are people that are going through the winepress of God's wrath. Today we're going to talk about the good grape. So our official passage is still in Revelation chapter 14. I'm going to read verse 18 and 19. Put in your sickle and gather the clusters from the vine of the earth, for its grapes are ripe. So the angel swung his sickle across the earth and gathered the grape harvest of the earth and threw it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trodden outside the city, and blood flowed from the winepress as high as a horse's bridle, 1,600 stadia. So the great winepress of the wrath of God. So we find a readiness for this. This is a moment late in the tribulation. The grapes are ripe. The earth has been judged. And what that means is that the people of the earth have been judged. So we find God doing this at the right time. They have the right object of rebellion. These are people that have continually trampled on the people of God and the places of God and the way of God, and basically trampled on God himself. And the right effort here, so the Lord is throwing these people down, casting them against their will. Nobody wants this. Nobody wants justice unless you have a good grape, Jesus, to substitute into the winepress of God's wrath. So there's another scene besides Revelation chapter 14 that depicts this winepress of God's wrath. And it brings up an important point, which is the Lord kind of wants a substitute for this. So somebody has to go through the winepress, and justice must be done, and blood must be shed. And the grape of my blood is kind of on the menu unless the blood of the good grape can substitute. And so this verse in Isaiah chapter 63 asks, is there anybody else to help, to substitute? So the scene is from Isaiah 63 verse 2. Why is your apparel red and your garments like his who treads in the winepress? Then the quote here, for I've trodden the winepress alone, and from the peoples no one was with me. I trod them in my anger, and I trampled them in my wrath. Their lifeblood spattered on my garments and stained all my apparel. But then verse 5, I looked and there was no one to help. I was appalled, but there was no one to uphold. So my own arm brought me salvation. My wrath upheld me. I trampled down the peoples in my anger. I made them drunk in my wrath, and I poured out their lifeblood on the earth. So there's no substitution. This is, of course, God's righteous judgment, and blood is always required, but these people have chosen self-payment, self-blooding, if you will. And then curiously, the next verse, verse 7, talks about God's hesed, steadfast love. Verse 7 says, I will recount the steadfast love of the Lord and the praises of the Lord. And it goes on to talk about the Lord's generosity and his great goodness to the house of Israel, his compassion, his abundance of hesed, the steadfast love when we did not deserve it. So this is a terrifying and accurate and holy judgment. So the point is, a grape of some point, blood of some point, has to go through the winepress of God's wrath. It's the grape of blood for payment, for satisfaction, for justice. Without the shedding of blood, there's no forgiveness for sin. So the grapes of wrath, people, rebellious people, trampling people, are heading into the winepress of the wrath of God to be trampled. And at this moment in time, so this is from chapter 14, basically, of Revelation, but it's looking all the way ahead, maybe to chapter 20 or slightly beyond that, to the end of the tribulation. And at that moment, there's going to be no substitutionary sacrifice. So we're fast forwarding to a time when it is too late. So previously, all the believers have already said, hey, I'm with him. His blood counts for the payment of my sin. But at this moment in time, in human history, that choice is going to be off the table. So the grapes of wrath are heading into the winepress of the wrath of God. So it's really terrifying unless we go before this moment of time, let's say today, and have these people who would otherwise be heading into the winepress of the wrath of God, that they might already access Jesus. Because Jesus has already shed satisfactory blood, God-appeasing blood, propitiating blood. And we need it right now. You need it right now. Because when we go to Revelation chapter 14, there's no calling for substitutionary blood. So in today's story, there's a call for blood, for payment for sin, for divine justice. And unfortunately, there's no one available to answer the call except for the sinner himself or the sinner herself. So there is no good grape available on the day that is being described here in Revelation chapter 14. But the good grape is available today. As you listen to this podcast, the good grape of Jesus is available. The winepress, the future winepress of God's wrath, can be satisfied by the good grape of Jesus that you receive. So by his blood. So they might be asking, hey, is there a substitute as I go through the winepress? The answer to that is no, it's not available to them. But it's available to us. So don't be a bad grape. Well, wait a minute. Sorry, you're already a bad grape. But choose today the good grape and don't be one of the ones that are trampled. Choose the good grape of Jesus before the choice is off the table. Thanks for listening.